Hello friends, James Stevenson here with a question. How much profit does Tesla make per vehicle they sell? And how does that compare against Ford and GM? And not just for last year, but over the last 8 years, how have those numbers changed? What do they look like? Well, I have the answers coming up in this video right away. We'll just check in with my co-host Loki real quick to see that he is curled up in bed and sleeping, making me do all the work. Here's my spreadsheet. You can keep an eye on Loki and the Loki Cam, as always, while we turn our attention to this chart showing profit per vehicle sold. Now, I'm using the GAAP net income here instead of the non-GAAP net income per vehicle. So the vehicles are the wholesale deliveries, that is, the deliveries from Ford, GM, and Tesla of vehicles they produced to dealerships. Tesla doesn't have any dealerships, but they do have end customers. So that's the number. If you're looking for the joint ventures numbers, you can go look those up on Ford and GM's websites. They report both sets of numbers. I only use the wholesale count because those are the vehicles that Ford and GM produced. Their joint ventures, they don't have to do any work for. They're just licensing out their brand to, in most cases, Chinese companies like SAIC, who just want a Buick nameplate to stamp on their Chinese-made vehicles or what have you. All right. So here's the profit per vehicle sold. If Ford's numbers look really small to you, let me explain the scale. So Tesla lost more money in 2017 than they lost in any other year in history, almost $2 billion. And they didn't sell that many vehicles that year either, so it was a very large loss per vehicle sold. About $19,000 worth of losses per vehicle sold. So that explains the scale here. It goes from negative 20 to positive $20,000 per vehicle. Okay, so how's Ford doing over the years in their profits? Well, most years, Ford makes $1,000 or less worth of profit on average for the vehicles they sell. Some years they lose money. There's one outlier year on here, and as I described in my previous video where we looked at the GAAP net income dollars, they had about half of this come from a non-operating gain on their investment in Rivian. It was about a $9 billion gain that year. So it's kind of wrong to include that number and then divide it by the number of vehicles they sold, because those profits did not come from selling vehicles. It came from Ford having invested in Rivian, an unrelated company, right? So you can knock off half this number in your mind if you want. I just wanted to follow consistent logic on what metric is being graphed. In this case, it's GAAP net income per wholesale delivery. How does GM do? Well, in 2017, they lost money. They lost $700 per vehicle sold. Every other year, they've made a profit of, $1,000, $2,000. In the case of 2021, a little over $3,000 worth of profit per vehicle. In the most recent year, it was $2,660 worth of profit per vehicle on average. Ford, right under $1,000 profit per vehicle. How's Tesla doing these days? Well, they used to lose money prior to 2019, or prior to 2020. They lost money every year on a GAAP basis. Then in 2020, they made $1,443 per vehicle. In 2021, that beat $5,000, and it has every year since, friends. In 2022, nearly $10,000 profit per vehicle. And last year, 2023, after a bunch of price cuts and with the mix also being unfavorable, selling more Model Ys and Model 3s, less Model S and Model X last year, the average profit per vehicle was $8,300. That's still pretty great. Now, a significant portion of this was a one-time tax favorability from prior year's losses. So during these years when Tesla was losing money, they were saving up those losses on their balance sheet to be able to use to offset their federal corporate income taxes owed. in the future. And then Tesla claimed a bunch of that, $6 billion worth of that year. So I would say 40% of this number is that one-time tax benefit, meaning without it, Tesla still would have made almost $5,000 profit per vehicle sold. That's pretty great, especially if you've heard Tesla Q, the haters, the short sellers, and the trolls talking about how Tesla's price cuts were going to doom the company and that they wouldn't be able to make any profits if they had to cut prices the way they did in 2023. Tesla's still doing fine with about $5,000 worth of profits, even after you throw out that one-time tax favorability. And that's my video for today. So with that, we will check back in with Loki to see that he is still curled up in bed sleeping. And I will thank you for watching this video, and I will thank my executive producers, Kathy Kitchler and Rebellionaire.com, and look forward to further videos in this series on Ford versus GM versus Tesla. Oh yes, I have more metrics. See you then. Bye.